What's going on, everyone? Kyle Yates here with the FantasyPros Football Podcast. Thanks for joining us. As always, you can find our brand new content every week at youtube.com/fantasypros, as well as on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow while you're there. Let's get right to it, because today I'm taking a look at my stashes and streamers heading into Week 12. Let's take a look at my top 5 stashes heading into Week 12. Number 5, Anthony Miller and Darnell Mooney, wide receivers for the Chicago Bears. There's buzz coming out of Chicago that Mitchell Trubisky might end up being the Bears quarterback this Sunday against the Green Bay Packers. At this point, the Bears are looking for any spark on offense that they can get, and they may be more willing to lean into Trubisky's strengths versus trying to force him to fit their specific scheme. It's a complete guess, but if you have the space, either Miller or Mooney is worth the roster spot just in case we see something different here in Chicago. Number 4, TEVIN Coleman, running back, San Francisco 49ers. Coleman is reportedly close to returning and may even suit up in Week 12. While Raheem Mostert is also set to return to the lineup, there's a possibility that Coleman steps into Jerick McKinnon's role as the pass-catching back in this backfield. It's a complete guessing game though, so Coleman's not exactly a must-add player. However, there's a chance that he establishes a clear role for himself in this offense, and he could be a valuable fantasy asset down the stretch if that happens. Number 3, Dez Bryant, wide receiver, Baltimore Ravens. I can't believe that it's 2020 and I'm talking about Dez Bryant as a potential fantasy football stash. The Ravens clearly have a need at the wide receiver position with Marquise Brown struggling this season, and Dez actually led this Ravens receiver room in receiving yards in Week 11. It's unlikely that Dez ever becomes a locked-in wide receiver 3 each week, but he could be someone that you roll out in the right matchups down the stretch. He's worth stashing heading into this weekend's games to find out. Number 2, Justice Hill, running back, Baltimore Ravens. With J.K. Dobbins and Mark Ingram out for the Thursday night football game against the Steelers, Gus Edwards and Justice Hill will take command of this backfield. Hill's done very little in the NFL so far, but he's absolutely going to see some work in this game as the change of pace back. If Hill capitalizes on his opportunity, he could force his way into more playing time in this offense. Hill could be a viable start in Week 13. Number 1, RASHAAD Penny, running back, Seattle Seahawks. According to Pete Carroll, Penny could start practicing as early as next week. When he was healthy last season, we started to see the Seahawks lean more and more on their former first-round pick. If you're playoff bound and you need some running back depth, Penny should be back in action by Week 14, and he could be the sneaky pickup of the season. It's worth acting now as he's only 4% rostered in Yahoo leagues. Let's now look at some players that we can pick up to stream in Week 13. Number 5, Las Vegas Raiders, DST. The Raiders get to take on the New York Jets offense in Week 13. While they're not a top-tier unit by any means, they're automatically in the streaming DST conversation if they play the Jets. Number 4, Jimmy Graham, tight end, Chicago Bears. There's no way of knowing who is going to be the starting quarterback for the Chicago Bears in Week 13. However, whether it's Trubisky or Foles, there's no denying the matchup for Graham against the Lions defense. The Lions aren't anywhere close to a top 15 defense in the NFL, and whoever is playing quarterback should be able to move the ball on them. Graham's not going to be a top 12 tight end in my rankings, but he's certainly in the streaming conversation. Number 3, Phillip Rivers, quarterback, Indianapolis Colts. Rivers has actually been a fairly consistent fantasy option here in recent weeks, and he'll get to take on the Houston Texans defense in Week 13. While the Colts could choose to run all over the Texans, Rivers should still have enough passing volume to finish as a fine streaming option. Number 2, Jordan Reed, tight end, San Francisco 49ers. Heading into Week 12, the Bills are currently allowing the 6th most fantasy points to opposing tight ends. Reed should be heavily involved in this offense, and it's hard to find a better matchup. When you're streaming tight ends, you're looking for plus matchups, and Reed certainly has that. He's only 22% rostered in Yahoo leagues, and he should be picked up now before the waiver wire rush in Week 13. Number 1, Daniel Jones, quarterback, New York Giants. Jones has some pretty good matchups on the schedule coming up. He gets the Bengals in Week 12 and then the Seattle Seahawks in Week 13. While the Seahawks have tightened things up a bit here recently, they're still one of the best matchups out there for opposing wide receivers and quarterbacks. Jones will most likely land inside the top 12 of my Week 13 rankings, and he does come with the added bonus that he can be streamed this week as well. Looking for useful content, fantasy relevant information, and the data that can help your team win? Then make sure to subscribe to the FantasyPros YouTube channel. And while you're at it, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at FantasyPros so we can help you dominate your league all season long.